What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Fourth Generation Podcast. We have a special episode here for you guys. I'm joined here with my sister, Priscilla.
Hello.
And our special guest for today, Andrew.
How's it going?
It's great to finally have both of you guys on.
Yeah.
Rare occurrence.
Rare, I know.
Rare.
It's like a rare sighting.
I was on last week.
Yeah, I know. But to have you guys both at the same
Together.
time,
Yeah.
it's weird.
Yeah.
Cool.
It's a little strange for me, but I think I'll manage.
We'll make it work.
Okay. So today we're gonna go over not necessarily a spooky story, but definitely an unsolved disappearance, an unsolved death, in some sorts.
Yeah, maybe we can solve it today.
Yeah.
Maybe.
All right, you guys ready to get into it?
Let's do it.
All right, let's get started. Just to give you guys a little bit of backstory, our central character for today, the mysterious death of Kayla, what was her?
Kayelyn Louder.
Kayelyn Louder. She was a 30-year-old. You good?
Yeah, I'm just kind of because I'm crouching down a little bit. So
Okay. She was a 30-year-old social worker in Murray, Utah. She lived with a roommate. You know, she of course she had her family, or her mom and her dad, that lived separately. She did have a twin brother who was, I guess he was incarcerated for murdering his uncle.
Yeah,
Okay,
I think we already solved this one.
No, he was incarcerated for murdering his uncle. I guess they were using drugs together, so they were both druggies.
How old? You said 30.
She was 30-year-old social worker or ex-social worker. At this time, she was in between jobs.
Okay.
Okay, so Kayelyn Louder. Yeah,
Louder.
Sorry. So Kayelyn Louder, she disappeared on September 27th of 2014. There were a few 911 calls in the days leading up to her disappearance. Why don't you tell us about the first one, Priscilla?
Yeah, so the first call, she had called 911, letting them know that she had heard gunshots, an altercation in like a recreational center at the apartment complex that she lived in, and just complained that there was a fight, that she heard gunshots, crazy thing. The officers came in and checked it out, and it was just a wedding. They questioned the people at the wedding if there was any weapons or anything, and nothing. They didn't find anything. It was just a regular wedding going on. And then it was until another hour later passed by, she called again before the 911 dispatcher was able to speak. She had hung up right away. They did call back to ask her, why she had called. When she answered, she was mumbling. They couldn't understand what she was saying. She was very confused as to where she was at. Couldn't think of her name.
So this is the second 911
phone call.
Oh, okay. In the same night?
The same night.
Same night.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So she, was very confused as to what was going on. They end the phone call there. It wasn't until next morning where they receive another phone call.
This is the third phone call.
The third. They receive another phone call, and she was reporting a robbery in her own apartment. She had told them there was intruders entering. Again, you could hear in the background of her roommate talking to her as well, telling her everything's okay, the door's locked, there's no one there. Yet they found it weird that she was kind of interacting with these intruders. She was telling them to go away or to shut up, loudly. And mind you, if you're in your apartment and you hear people in there, you're not going to be speaking loudly. You're going to be hiding. You're going to be, trying to find a way to protect yourself. And she was being, she was trying to interact with these intruders. So she calls intruders. But then you hear, a little while after, her roommate comes in and tells her everything's okay. They both go walk around the apartment to check the doors. And again, the door was locked. So that's where they end the phone call there. Again, officers show up, nothing going on. Everything was in place. Everything was fine, but they didn't find anything.
When I have an intruder house.
Repeat the address for verification.
They're stealing from my house.
Okay, say your address one more time. I'm having a hard time hearing you.
Get the out of my house.
Okay, do you know who this person is?
No, I don't. I just know that there's an intruder in my house.
You don't know who they are?
No, I don't. I'm going to look from where I'm at 'cause I'm worried about my safety. Please hurry.
Are you at the location now?
Yes, I am.
Were weapons involved or mentioned?
They're not talking or responding. I'm just telling them to leave so I can hear them taking things.
So you haven't seen them, you can just hear them?
Yes, correct.
Are you or anyone else in immediate danger?
I believe so.
Okay, are you able to get yourself to safety?
I just want to answer that while he's here.
I'm sorry, what?
No.
Can you talk freely with me?
Yeah.
Okay, where exactly are you?
I'm in the back bedroom. Karen,
Where did
lock
the
your
suspect
door.
enter the building?
There's only one door. Get out of my house.
Is there anyone else in the building who belongs there?
Yes, there's 6 apartments.
Okay, is there anybody else in your apartment that should be there?
I believe she is here. I have a roommate
Where is she at?
next door to me.
Can you still hear them?
Yes,
Where does it sound like they're at?
the front room near the entrance. It's a small place. Shut up.
Are they saying anything?
Yeah, I heard someone say, hey, go in there, so there's obviously 2 of them. Hey, Karen, lock the door. There's something going on there. There. Come here. Yeah. They might have left.
Okay, what's going on now? They've left now?
Yeah, so I'm just going to look and see if anything's been taken. Someone opened the door, and I heard them come in. Don't do that, Carol. If the door's still locked, it's impossible. They must have a key or something. Because when I took the dog out, I heard people talking. And there was people last night, sitting outside the window. And so they, were scoping us out or something. Why is the door still locked? Well, I can't explain that, but I heard, 2 people talking.
So she called 911 3 times. Again, the first one was just a wedding. She had reported that there was a fight and then that there was gunshots, but the police arrived, nothing. The second one was where she was mumbling and she couldn't understand anything.
Yeah.
She couldn't say where she was. And the third one was
a home invasion.
Supposed home invasion.
So does Kayelyn have any drug history in
So-
her background?
So actually, no. So that's the thing is,
Because I remember you mentioned that her brother was incarcerated for using drugs.
her twin brother.
Her twin brother.
So she has no history of drugs. She has no history of mental illness. Okay, so the only thing that they can say that was kind of off during this time was that she was unemployed. But she seemed optimistic from what her family members say. They said that she was looking forward to finding another job. She used to be a social worker. A lot of people say maybe just the stress of that job as well kind of contributed to I guess this mental episode. So after the 911 calls, okay, this is the day of her disappearance. Okay, September 27th. This was the last time she was seen. She was seen on CCTV video surveillance cameras outside of her apartment complex. It was raining. You can tell. You can even see the ground all still wet. And she was out there walking her dog, right? But she was in a tank top and shorts, and she was barefoot. She had no shoes on. And, of course, it was raining outside. And, well, this is weird, right? So she's out there walking her dog, and then you can see her kind of wander off into this creek behind her apartment complex. So she's back there for a while. She resurfaces. She's holding her dog, and she puts the dog down. And then the dog, she starts kind of animated, like talking, as if she was talking to somebody, as if she was like there was somebody there and she was having a conversation with them. A lot of people speculate, or a lot of her family members speculate that she was having a conversation with her dog, which I guess something that she would do on a regular basis.
Oh, okay.
You know, yeah, people talk to their dogs all the time.
Yeah,
But-
full on conversation.
Exactly.
Nobody else around.
No.
Yeah, but she would, it kind of, if you, I don't know if you remember, but the mysterious death of Alyssa Lamb, where there was like the surveillance video of her in the elevator where she's like moving her hands
Kind of
around,
talking.
talking, looking over her shoulder back and forth. Yeah, stuff like that. So that's exactly what she looked like. She looked like she was, waving her arms, talking to something. She wasn't looking at her dog though. Her dog she was looking in the direction of her dog, but she was like her
like
head
if there was a
up.
human or somebody right in front of her, like she was speaking to somebody.
Exactly. So then shortly after she was caught on camera, she takes off. So you can see her kind of just run off of frame, and then she's gone. She left the dog behind. She left her keys, her car, her phone, everything. She kind of just took off in what she was wearing. So she vanished, essentially. I guess
Last time anybody had ever saw her was
last time anybody ever saw her. And nobody reported her anywhere in the surrounding areas. Nobody came up and said like, hey, yeah, we saw her wander off this way. She wasn't captured on any other surveillance videos. Nothing. She essentially just vanished like off the face of the earth, and no one knew where to start looking.
Yeah.
Then 2 months later, she was found dead in a river just a few miles away from where she was last seen. They couldn't determine the cause of death. They did an autopsy. They couldn't determine the cause of death because she was decomposed so bad. And they said that she had been in the river for the entire 2 months that she was missing.
Okay, so she most likely had died shortly after she had
she had taken off. Yeah.
And found her in the same clothing that she was in when she went missing.
Yeah. Go ahead.
So when they did find her body, it was actually a couple city workers that were working on to go inspect a drain that wasn't flowing right, whatever, and that's where they ended up finding her body. It was kind of pushed up onto a tree that was in the river. So that's where they found her. Again, they did an autopsy and weren't able to determine any type of death. Again, no drugs, no alcohol in her system. So and then they didn't find any lacerations, like if she was harmed in any way. She looked completely, besides being decayed, normal and they didn't find anything to say like, oh, she was murdered or tortured or anything. It was just that they think that she had drowned, but again, the water or the flow of the river just wasn't strong enough or deep enough for her to end up drowning, being healthy and 30 years old. So it was just very weird.
There's also speculation too that the creek that was behind her apartment complex might have led her to the river, where it's just like she might have kind of like some type of current kind of pulled her into the river where she drowned. But
how deep is this creek?
The creek wasn't very deep at all.
The
creek wasn't very deep at all. Like it looks like there was hardly any water, because you can see it on the video that there was hardly any water in there. But the river had a little bit more water in there, but it was still, I don't think it's enough to necessarily
drown someone,
get trapped and drown somebody. Especially an adult.
Yeah.
And this is during like the winter. You said it was raining earlier.
So this happened. So she disappeared in September.
September
27th was the last day she was seen, and she wasn't.
She was found December 1st.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So 2 months later. Yeah. So the leading speculation, I guess you can say the leading theory is right now, is that she might have been schizophrenic.
I can see that. Yeah. Schizophrenia, and maybe slight drug use, given the fact that she's stressed with not having a job.
And you think that she necessarily just went off and started doing drugs?
Some people find, different ways of coping with stress, drinking, alcoholism. you
but
know.
the
drugs.
toxicology report said that she didn't have anything
Yeah,
in
she
there.
didn't have anything in her system.
After 2 months of being decomposed in a river.
That's true.
True.
I mean, I
You
don't
know,
necessarily
just
understand
kind
how
of just
Because they couldn't determine
Yeah.
toxicology reports work.
Yeah, and they couldn't determine a cause of death, which could have been, you know, anywhere from just the elements. She wasn't outfitted for being out there.
She
and
clearly wasn't.
obviously
have the right
barefoot.
Mm-hmm.
You say she wasn't. It wasn't deep enough for her to drown, so you can rule out drowning.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, the psychotic episodes that she had beforehand with the 911
The phone
calls,
calls.
which she also didn't show any signs of mental illness
Beforehand.
Yeah. Which is another thing. I mean, schizophrenia, it does come in kind of late in people's later lives when they're like in their early 20s or late 20s. She was already 30. So, I mean, if it did hit schizophrenia, it hit her pretty late, right?
Yeah.
Another thing could be the fact that she was a twin. You know, we were talking about that earlier.
Oh,
that
yeah.
Oh,
that
okay. Or
twins-
maybe, you know, when they're separated or something,
Yeah.
they have
Mhm.
some kind of depression,
Like, yeah,
from
like-
separation anxiety or something like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Do you guys? I forget where it was, but I think it was in these Scandinavian countries where it was a set of twins who decided just to run off into the middle of the highway. Do you guys remember that? Where it was just so
Yeah.
both of them decided to just run off into the middle of the highway, no explanation whatsoever. They just ran out there. They were dodging traffic. They were yelling at each other, yelling at traffic. And when they finally got them to safety, they tried to ask them, "Well, why did you guys do that?" And neither one of them could give a legitimate answer. It was at this time, like, and then later on, they said that they don't even remember ever doing that.
Okay.
So it was like more like a shared psychosis type of thing, but one of them had a mental breakdown and the other one followed along with it.
Yeah.
And that's where it takes me back to this, where like, well, she had a twin who I wouldn't say he necessarily had a mental breakdown because he had a fight with the uncle
Yeah.
over drugs.
Yeah.
But I mean, there might have been a mental breakdown,
Could have been.
because he was only sentenced to 5 years, which wasn't that long for murder,
Yeah.
But I guess it was an altercation, so they were able to get the sentence down to like 5 years. So that might play a part into it. That the fact that she was a twin,
That she just had a episode. and
just like
he,
a mental
you know,
episode, and it kind of just hit her late, and she just wandered off, and then just decided to go ahead and just end it. Maybe because she
Yeah.
was, or the water at that time was strong enough to
'Cause it was
get her
raining.
to drown.
Yeah.
Yep.
It was
She
raining.
fell or hit her head and then fell into a shallow part of the creek and drowned like that. You never know.
Exactly.
The only
just really
another
strange
thing about the
circumstances.
autopsy report was that they couldn't even say that she did fall, or because I guess it was deep enough to where if you were to fall, you'd break something, or no broken bones, no bruises, or anything was wrong with her.
off drop.
Yeah. So
Hmm.
yeah, they
there
can't
any-
even rule that in either.
Was there any other personal dilemmas going on in her life? Like maybe a
Other
boyfriend had
than-
breaking up with her?
Other than her losing the job, that was it.
Yeah.
And then-
And that was what they would mostly kind of
Yeah.
point at, is,
was
you know,
that-
And then
being
she
in
was
between
and then,
jobs.
well, she was really positive. She was really uppity. She didn't have like
Optimistic
a really,
about
she wasn't
everything,
really a downer
yeah.
person.
Oh, okay.
Everybody that they talked to says that she was always positive.
Totally
Yeah.
out of character. for
Totally out of
what she
character
did.
for her of what she did.
Yeah.
Another theory is that maybe she would have just wandered off on her own. That she just kind of was just sick of what was going on, just like you said.
Mhm.
Maybe like a bout of depression kind of just hit her a little bit hard.
Yeah.
And then she wandered off and then just decided to end it.
Yeah.
That's one of the theories, but I mean, the way she did it, it kind of
When
doesn't
about
really,
it was kind of
Because
Yeah.
the way that I think the one thing and the one kind of thing that we're overlooking is that you guys said that she would sometimes. Oh well, obviously I feel like, with Priscilla, she has a really good relationship with her dog.
yeah,
Females
Yeah.
always, either whether it's
Yeah.
a cat, and especially if you don't have a boyfriend or anything like that,
Yeah.
for her to just to leave her
leave
dog.
the dog. That was
Yeah.
very. That was
that's
they
another
point out
something
too.
that's
Was
probably
just kind
like
of
the biggest. Okay, maybe this is a mental
thing,
breakdown.
Yeah.
not necessarily
Because
that
even
she
if
would
there
left-
was a
Mhm.
threat of
Uh-huh.
someone chasing her, take the dog.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
pick up
for
your
sure.
dog
It's
and
your
run.
companion,
There's always
it's-
it's your companion.
yeah.
You know, it's dog's.
Yeah.
Man's best friend. So that's probably the one thing that I feel like people were really overlooking was
Why would she
fact
leave
that
the
she would
dog?
just leave her dog, even though she's out there, clearly not
Running
outfitted
or
for the
whatever,
elements,
yeah.
wearing a tank top and no shoes.
Exactly.
But why did she leave
The dog.
Everything else
It's
makes
true.
sense.
Yeah,
The
But
dog
why the
doesn't.
dog?
the dog doesn't. I feel like that dog has some answers. Had some, yeah.
Yeah, that dog saw some
What-
stuff, man. We gotta interrogate
What
him.
fault
We
did the
gotta-
dog have?
You imagine the cops interrogating the dog in the room.
Where'd she go?
Yeah. Snacks.
Good cop, bad cop.
Yeah.
The last theory. This is the one that the family is more pushing towards, is that she was abducted and killed by somebody. Because leading up to it, it doesn't make any sense that she would do this all on her own and then have a mental breakdown seemingly out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Because she was already 30 years old. She didn't have any history of mental illness whatsoever. She didn't have any history of any drug use whatsoever. And then to all of a sudden just one day just snap and then just take off.
Yeah.
So a lot of people speculate, leading back to the 911 calls. Even Priscilla said this earlier. What if during those 911 calls there legitimately was somebody
Messing with her.
trying to get after her,
Yeah.
or just kind of just messing with her, but it also doesn't explain the 911 call where she doesn't remember her address,
Yeah.
where she doesn't understand what's
Where
going on,
Yeah,
or where
why
she's at.
she got the phone call. Like, she
Exactly.
was so confused.
So, but I mean, you can that does kind of explain the last one where somebody is trying to break in, but she keeps yelling at somebody, like you said, like, "Oh, get the hell
Get
out!"
out,
right?
shut up.
Shut
Like, she
up,
was,
yeah. And then her
really,
roommate was in the background. We're like, "There's
what's
nobody
going
here."
on?
Yeah.
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 Like, the
So-
door's locked. There's, she even said, like, well, maybe they have a key. Like, they knew what they're doing. And the roommate's
Yeah.
still, like, the only people that have a key
Yeah.
is just the roommates, the two people.
Because you
Right.
see her in the video too. She acts off. Like she does. The way she's walking doesn't seem like a normal person walking their dog. You know how a
Yeah.
person walks, they go about their business. She like stares off into the distance. Her movements are kind of weird.
And at one point, she started kind of running, or like slight jogging from one place to another, kind of going back
Yeah,
and
she was,
forth.
like, running back and forth.
But
Just
it
kind of
didn't look
unsure
like
of everything that she was doing.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
didn't look like, oh, she's running from somebody, or she was just kind of slight jogging, just kind of
But
weird.
But what the whole family's pushing for, the whole reason they think that she was murdered, because she took off, but then nobody in the surrounding area saw her. So she lives in an apartment complex, and the surrounding area is pretty
It's a
populated.
city.
So no one, and then they had conducted a search. The thing is too, is when they did the search, the police were a little bit neglectful because they think, well, she's a 30-year-old woman. She probably just took off on her
ran
own.
off.
Yeah.
They, because, adults do that all the time, right? They kind
Yeah.
of just take off on their own, and, you don't hear from them for months. So when they did the search, I mean, it was kind of half-assed, thinking like she's going to turn up eventually, right? Because there was no evidence of any foul play leading into it. There wasn't any evidence of her like struggling or fighting anybody.
Yeah.
So if she did get abducted, maybe she did go willingly, like she knew the person that she was getting in the car with or something, because nobody saw her.
Yeah.
And then 2 months later, she is found dead in a river,
Mhm.
close to her house. I think
Like,
it was like 2 miles
2 miles
away.
away from
Oh,
where
okay.
she lived.
So it was like she went that far,
Mm-hmm.
and then found the exact same clothes that she was
Last
last
seen in.
seen in.
Yeah.
So, and then it is very difficult, especially for the cops, that there's no actual cause of death.
Mm-hmm.
That's
there's-
also,
yeah,
you
there's-
can rule out, foul play,
Yeah.
Exactly.
So there's
So,
an accident. It's just kind of hard to determine.
and that's what the cops had determined officially was an accidental death.
Mm-hmm.
So they couldn't actually say if she was drowned or she was, had any lacerations on her body
Yeah.
or anything like that.
Yeah.
Which it gets pretty strange. So what do you think? What do you think it was?
My personal theory is that she was having a midlife crisis.
Mm-hmm.
She was kind of maybe very stressed given her current situation career-wise. You say that she didn't have really a love life going on at
No.
the time.
Not that anybody
Mm-hmm.
knows of.
Yeah.
So which you can also rule out that foul play, maybe, from the boyfriend, because that's usually the first person that people go and look at
Right.
is the people closest to you, especially in a
Mhm.
disappearance. And I think that the last night that when she went out walking in her tank top, barefoot, and her dog, I believe that she was having a mental breakdown, maybe acute drug use to it, or alcohol. She could have been under the influence of alcohol. There was no outside threat. I don't believe that she was.
You see,
I don't believe that. And she took off running. I think that she did take off running, and that's where it gets kind of gray. I don't think that she was abducted, because you say that she was running down a river or a creek bank.
Yeah.
So very, not a heavily populated area for somebody to come snatch you up, grab you.
Not like at random.
Yeah, at random, especially at night in the rain.
Well, this was during the day.
Oh,
This
she
was-
disappeared. Okay, I thought she was
yeah.
walking around. So this
this was
changes
during
everything.
the
No, the time of the first surveillance where you first see her is at 5:45 p.m.
Oh, okay.
So
Yeah.
it was still kind
So
of day,
still
daytime.
in
Yeah,
September.
evening,
Yeah.
early
Okay.
evening.
In September, so September, that sun goes down like around 7, depending.
Six or 7.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, still, that's kind of where it gets a little gray. 2 miles, even in running barefoot
in the rain.
in the
Kinda
rain.
far to make
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
Still far, but doable.
Yeah.
You can do it.
Mm-hmm.
And then not found far away from the scene of the crime, I guess you could say. So I don't think people usually abducting somebody, taking them somewhere to do whatever it is that they do with them,
Right.
and then bringing them back
Right.
to where they
Yeah.
found them.
Or
So
bringing
I
them back
think,
so close
So
to their
close.
house.
or bringing them back
Yeah.
so close to
Yeah.
her house. So
Mhm.
I do think that she ran off, maybe a little under the influence of some substance, having a mental breakdown because she did leave the dog, especially with an outside threat.
Yeah.
You usually pick up your dog and run towards a
Yeah.
populated area
Yeah.
if somebody's chasing you.
Yeah.
And she died maybe of natural causes.
I agree. I think she was schizophrenic, and I think
Yeah.
it kind of just hit her a little bit late.
She just had like a panic episode to
She
where
just had a panic
it
episode. Yeah, maybe
triggered it.
Yeah, because I mean, she was unemployed. A lot of time to just sit there and think.
Yeah.
Maybe she was just thinking too much, and maybe something triggered
That's-
something. Also, being a social worker.
Part of my theory is also that she had all the free time and
Uh,
probably reliving that episode or the altercation that her brother and her uncle had because she was there. She was a witness to see it all, so that's why maybe she kind of just overthought about it, and
yeah,
it triggered something to where she had that
maybe
episode.
a little bit traumatizing.
Yeah.
And then just sitting there thinking, and then just okay.
Yeah.
Could have developed, post-traumatic stress disorder.
That as well.
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
can happen in a situation when somebody gets killed in Brandon.
Yeah.
Or my favorite
Exactly.
theory, aliens, man.
Oh,
It came up and
This dude.
both you guys,
podcast is
both you guys.
We're done.
Okay. Yeah, we'll end it
Well,
there.
let's not rule out every possibility.
Hey, let's just say, man, what if her apartment was haunted,
It could have been.
by aliens?
You never know.
Like-
She was out there in the wild and she ran into the chupacabra.
The chupacabra
Yeah.
came and just grabbed her, dude.
Bigfoot could have been.
They're
Yeah.
Big-
hiding
Bigfoot,
something in
yeah.
that autopsy report.
They're all speculation.
They know something.
I'm
they're
very
not
sorry
telling.
to her family
Oh,
because this is
definitely.
completely inappropriate.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. But yes, that is very.
No, but it's a sad story. and
It's sad. Yeah.
condolences.
Hopefully,
it sucks because the family still don't have answers as to
Yeah.
what really happened. And
hopefully this this probably won't bring your attention, but I mean, hopefully they get it some attention to where the officials
More.
there maybe do take a second look
yeah.
and see maybe like, hey, some of this stuff is a little fishy.
Yeah.
Some of this, the pieces don't really connect as clean as people would like,
Yeah.
especially when it's the death of a loved one.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Yes.
All right, anything you guys want to add?
No. I think
No?
we're good.
All right.
Yeah.
That was cool.
That was
Think
good.
I'm
time.
Thank you guys for
Yeah.
being here.
Yeah.
For those of you guys watching at home, thanks for joining us. We post at least once a week. So if you guys like this type of content, make sure you guys like and subscribe. If you guys don't have anything to add, we'll see you guys all in the next video. All right. Thanks,
Bye.
everybody.
Good one.
Bye.